Well, it's beginning of the or ending of the first half of the recruiting season. Good day to be a Bengal. We have some signees that we're pretty excited to present to the public, and not everybody's on this list. There's a few that have signed that do not want to be announced until February, which is their right, and we're waiting on a couple today still coming in though. But I think for Idaho State to have, I got 5 right now with a potential 7 or 8. But for Idaho State to get that far ahead in recruiting is a good step forward, and it shows our assistant coaches did a great job in spring, going out and recruiting and getting a preliminary list, and then doing a great job of getting guys committed and keeping them committed. So we're excited with this class. There's only one. I say only one from Idaho, but if you take Jojo Sanchez from Nissa, which is right across the border, we consider that a local area for us, and there'll be more within the state as we move forward. But in this class, there are several young men that conference opponents tried to, within the last couple days of recruiting, tell them not to sign with us, something that we don't do, and they held strong. So I'd like to go through each of the guys real quick if I could. Sagan Gronauer is a quarterback from Faith Lutheran High School in Las Vegas. He was considered one of the best quarterbacks, if not the #1 quarterback in the state of Nevada this year. And he committed to us early during the summer and turned away some other people in order to stay. And I don't know who that was. It's just a matter of his father told me his high school coach would come to him and say, hey, these guys want to talk to him, these guys want to talk, and Sagan has held with us the whole way. We're excited. He's the type of quarterback that we want. He actually came up to camp in June, and we saw his abilities there. I feel he'll be a great leader in the years to come. Jamari Boone was a young man from Narbonne High School down in Southern California that committed to us early as well, and that was a spring recruiting deal that Cam Yancey went out there. He's charged with going out there and finding us corners and safeties and skill guys, and he did a great job. Jamari said he committed to us early and stayed with his commitment. The next 2 guys, Jojo and Jake, not to discount anybody else in the class, but these 2 I'm probably most excited about. Jojo Sanchez plays at Nissa, played for Nissa, Oregon, which is right across the border in Idaho, in Oregon there. And Jojo's coached by Lee Long, who's a former Idaho State player. And Jojo was easily one of the best players on the field in our camp last June. And he was approached by several teams that tried to tell him not to sign on this day, but he stood with us. Got to give credit to Lee Long as well, who is a true Bengal and helped us along the way with that. I think JoJo's going to be a fun player to watch here in the future. And then the next one, Jake McGinnis, we've had a good relationship with Gooding High School, going back to Sam Funkhauser and Ruger Jennings last year. Jake, once again, committed to us during the summer. He has a brother that plays at a rival school in the conference, and he still was steadfast with his commitment and signed today. And now he's involved in high school wrestling. He's one of the top wrestlers in the state, if not the best. He's a meat and potatoes guy. Both him and JoJo are meat and potatoes guys. They're grinders, and I'm excited to announce them with the class. Roger Cooper did a great job with both those young men. And then the final one, Junior Damuni, he's a safety that's going to go on a mission, but he came in on visit and committed to us, and we're excited to have him as a member of our team. Once he completes his mission, he'll be back, and it'll be he'll be ready to roll.
Yeah, I guess what's the importance of getting a handful of guys signed early like this?
Just now we can focus on the next phase. You have we get, I'm sure there's probably a lot of the Power Fives and all that probably have 15, 20, almost their whole class. Well, we still have to sort through a lot of guys, and I think now, we have these slots in our recruiting board filled. Now we move on to the next phase, and we still have a lot of positions. We'll probably, I anticipate somewhere between 8 and 10 more signees in February.
How does it feel to, you mentioned how other schools are actively telling guys not to come here, yet...
That's a fine, by the way, right there. Okay.
But they're holding firm and deciding to come here anyway despite all of that. What does that say about the program, and how do you feel about that?
It says a lot about our assistant coaches and what they present. It says a lot about our program and the school. And but the thing with that is, we say that's why it's called recruiting, and that's why it's called signing day, because really you say you're committed, but you're not until you sign that piece of paper. And I think, like I said, Roger Cooper did a wonderful job with those two, keeping in touch with them. Inviting them down to games here, and it speaks volumes for what we're presenting now. Whereas before, who knows? I don't know if Idaho State would have had early signees or even early commitments. So I'd say credit to our assistant coaches, credit to Tyson Munns, our director of operations, who when these kids come in on game day, to have a good presentation available, and then obviously our recruiting weekends. Tyson does a great job keeping that organized, and I think the parents see that we're organized, that this is a real program, not just a fly-by-night operation, and I think that speaks volumes.
How do you feel the success of this past season has helped with this class?
It helps. It helps. It always helps. It's easier going into a home when you're 6 and 5 than when you're 2 and 10, 2 and 9, and that helps as well from a standpoint that it justifies what we're doing and how we're doing things, and you can go into a home and say, look, these are the teams that we've played, these are the teams that are recruiting you. Well, I can just throw out the score of the game. I don't have to, and I'm not a negative recruiter. I'm not going to go around and talk bad about other schools, but something that's on paper is the scores of games, and say, look, this is where one program's going, this is where the other program's going.
What if any needs does this class fill, and what areas do you still have left to work on?
It's easier to say what we have to work on: offensive line, defensive line, that area primarily. Fills the needs of corner. We got to have more corners. Fills the need of defensive line. We need a nose guard type guy, just like Jake is, and obviously you need a young quarterback that you can groom for the future. So that's where it starts. And having a guy like Sagan, like I said, he's going to be a leader in the future. He was so fired up to get this thing going and get signed. So he would come here and start the school now if he could. All right. That's Tyson Munns, our director of operations. So we just received another NLI, Keith Gooden, a defensive back from Calabasas High School, and that's one we were waiting on, and that's on your second sheet there. It should show up. So another one, Cam Yancey, did a great job. Young man had offers from within the conference, and some offers that were a little bit bigger, and showed up with his father on his recruiting visit, and we're excited to get him in here too. That fills it. There's two young corners that we need. We got to start developing depth there at that position. So Keithon, it's interesting to talk to him because he was in Calabasas where the fires were, and he didn't go to school. There was 2 weeks of school was closed, but they still had football practice, and he lived on the other side of the 101 freeway where the fires were, and so his house, he was evacuated, but didn't, the fires didn't reach his side. But it was fun talking to his dad about that whole time, and it was a little sketchy for them, but we'll welcome him as well.
What's your pitch to a guy that has offers from bigger programs?
Our pitch is just look at who we are, what we do, where we're going. This is what we believe now is an up-and-coming program, and we're very competitive. And I think that and selling the coaches who we have on our staff, we play out in California every so often, so the kid out in California, parents get to drive up and see them or whatever. But you're going to get an education, good place to come play football. The Big Sky is a great conference, and I don't know how we sell the corners on coming here, because the offenses in this conference it's ridiculous. You'd think they'd run away, but I said Cam Yancey does a great job with those guys.
Can I just get your thoughts maybe on, you mentioned there's going to be some more Idaho guys coming. Maybe your thoughts on the high school football in Idaho, and what some of the strengths you see there?
There's a upper crust of guys, and then you have a group of guys in the state that I think those teams in the Frontier Conference, College of Idaho, Montana Western, Rocky Mountain, all those, they could clean up in the state. There's some really good players. There's some really good players in the state, and we feel that we recruit everybody that is Big Sky level or better. If we feel you can play in this conference, we're going to be recruiting you. And I think it's important. I said when we first got the job here, we want to build Idaho State with state of Idaho players, and that's something that we'll continue to do, and we're gonna continue to recruit in state. Good players. There's a lot of good players, a lot of good coaches. Like I said, I think the Frontier League could dominate down here.
Are any of these guys going to be here in the spring?
No, and actually in the spring we have coming in Josh Crane from Madison, who's returned from his mission, and we'll talk about that later. We'll probably talk about that more on signing day. And Jared Gibson from Mountain View, who went on a mission and came back. But no, none of these players are going to join us in the spring. As much as we'd like to, we can't.
These are all high school seniors. Were there many JC transfer types that you went after but didn't land?
No, we obviously everybody saw quarterback situation, and Mike Farrer did a great job with him. But with Bob Stitt going to Texas State, that's a no-brainer. Kid made a great decision there. But no, we're looking to build from the bottom up, ground floor, with a good basis rather than a quick fix, and want to provide a solid foundation for this program and build on it for the years following.